Hello there. I put some double stick carpet tape on the back of the new walnut fretboard. And I'm going to press it down really good so that it doesn't move. And I have a radius block. It's a 12-inch radius with 60 grit sandpaper glued to it. The fretboard right now is in the same condition as the fretboard that I messed up. We're at the same spot. It was bound and the fret slots were cut, but I cut the fret slots wrong. So I started here because we've already done the cutting the fret slots and stuff like that. I made a mistake, but the method is sound and it's the way that I did these. And so what I'm doing is I'm taking this radius block and I'm running it up and down this fretboard, and you'll see that I will blow the dust off. I'll clean it off. You see me using Hashmarks now so that I can kind of see where it's sanding. But you'll see me often stop and blow the dust off and like rub it up against my pants, smack it against the bench, all kinds of things to get the sanding dust off of the fretboard and out of the sandpaper that's glued to the radius block, because what I don't want to do is load up that sandpaper with sanding dust. If I do, I'll have to change it out, or it'll take me longer because the paper won't cut as well. And this is all the sandpaper, 60 grit sandpaper that I've got. So if I want to do this, I need to keep it clean. And if you look and you see how I'm holding it, I'm using my fingers. Even when I'm doing it one-handed, I'm still using the fingers that are not actually moving the block as a way to guide the block over the fretboard to keep it as straight as possible. I used to do this by clamping two 1x2s, or 1x4s rather, on either side of the fretboard and adjusting them so that the block rode between them, sort of as a guide. But what I found was that the block still moves enough that it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't keep it any straighter than I can do it with my hands to start with. So I'm foregoing that this time and just doing it freehand. And you'll see me, I'm touching it to see what it feels like, how smooth it is. I'm going to do some more hash marks. That's something that is key to a lot of things I do when it comes to shaping or flattening something, because it lets me know what my progress is, and it's easy to see what's going on. And now I'm checking the radius at the end to see how far I've gotten. And the fretboard tapers, gets wider on the high frets and narrower up toward the nut. So when I sand on this with a radius block, the narrow portion up toward the nut will radius before the part of the fretboard that is toward the body. And so what I'm doing now is I'm working on that area where it takes longer to radius it because it's wider there. And I'll work on that until I get it close to where I want. And just spot sand right here for a bit until I get it where I want it. And you'll see I'll do a few strokes every now and then through a few full-length strokes rather. And then go back to working that area. And once I get that area where I want it, then I'll proceed to use full strokes again to blend all of it together. So now I'm happy with that end of it. I'm going to run the hash marks on it again, and then I believe this is where I'll be running straight up the board again, and I'll see how well it's radius by how fast these hash marks go away through down the length of the board. And then I now switch directions, and I'm coming from the narrow end of the board and standing toward the wide end. Because what I'm doing is I'm just trying to make sure that I've got everything nice and smooth and even and flat and radius properly. So I change directions. A lot of times when you flatten things, you'll change directions so that you're not putting pressure on one part more than you are the other. You're trying to compensate for human error, basically. Checking the smoothness. And here you have the finished product. I went up from 60 to 120 to 320 to 400, and then buffed it with 4/0 steel wool. That's all the sandpaper I had. I would have went up to 600, but I didn't have it. And you see the fretboard, you see the radius. When you look at the ends there, it's nice and smooth and clean. It's got a bit of a good luster to it. See the radius from this end. I think it's going to be beautiful. I'll add a little bit of oil on the fretboard as a last step when I assemble the instrument and fret it and all of that. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you coming along with me. Later.